Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Veg Networking Canada. We honor, acknowledge, and respect that many of us are located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of many Indigenous peoples of Canada. So here we are, Veg Networking Canada, another episode. We are a community where vegan, plant-based companies connect and collaborate. Today, we have a special guest with us. She has a Master's of Education in Psychology from the University of Toronto. She is an overcomer of near mute shyness, giving her the name Mute Girl who inspired millions. Veg Networking Canada is pleased to introduce the CEO of Speak Inspire. Welcome, Sharon Love.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us all, and those who are going to be watching this, later as it goes. Our first question for you to get the conversation started is around your own personal vegan, plant-based origin story, however that unfolded for you. We're happy to hear.
Okay, well, I grew up in a very traditional conservative household, and I knew I needed to break free. So when I heard about Canada World Youth, that was a program, this was a while ago. So we're going back. I'm going to date myself here. I've been vegan for over 30 years. And it started at Canada World Youth. I was on this exchange program. We were learning about we were traveling in Central America and in Quebec. It was all a government funded program, so we could learn about community development. And one of the things they taught us in this program that was co-ops in community development is they took us to a large factory and they said, put on these hats and put on these overcoats. And we went, why? Pourquoi? Qu'est-ce qu'on fait ici? This was in Quebec. I won't say the name of the company, but they opened up the doors and I went, oh, oh, okay. We were in a chicken factory. To my surprise, none of us were expecting it. And when I looked around, they went, I can't do this anymore. I can't eat meat anymore. I'm done. It became very, very obvious very quickly. I suddenly stopped seeing animals as food in that instant once I saw what was happening. And so as soon as I could, I went vegetarian, and that evolved into veganism.
Wow, that's quite an image. I'm sure a lot of people are kind of conjuring up in their mind right now, and how uh, traumatic that is for. I wonder how everybody else who was in that experience with you had taken that. Hopefully, a lot of people like
There was a
you.
vegetarian in the group, and she started saying, if you become vegan, you have a better life. I think she was saying vegetarian, but she kept saying that. And I was listening to her, and she got into a big debate with one of the other people in the program. And I kind of thought, I think she's right. I think she's right. I got a big heart. And when I saw what was happening to the animals, I'm like, wow, I want no part of this. I am done with this for life.
Well, maybe there's some plenty of other folks listening to this thinking that is a great action. That is a great thing to do for, but very interesting as a child. No,
Like
no doubt.
shock therapy, it was kind of like, what? I had no idea beforehand. And I just went, no, this is wrong. This is very, very wrong. So
Wow,
I wanted to
wow.
become part of the solution.
Which totally, totally makes sense. So, switching gears, that happened to you when you were young. What about your entrepreneur spark? How did that start for you? Was it what you're doing now with Speak Inspire, Empower Millions? Was it something beforehand? How did your entrepreneurial journey unfold?
I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life. When I was 13, I had a little babysitting empire, and then it grew into a flute teaching empire, and then a French tutoring empire. And then, I was always doing fun little things. And then when I was 15, I got put in the group with the popular girl to give a presentation. And by this time, I had been, I won't say who the bully was, but the big neighborhood bully took a real interest in me because I was the closest living smaller child. So I had grown up with every kind of bullying you could think of. And by the time I was 15, I really thought that nothing I had to say would ever be good enough for anyone else to hear. So I was pretty much mute, selective mute, as a way to get through being 15 in that situation. So I actually got put in a group with the popular girl in my English class to give a presentation. And the popular girl practically jumps out of her chair and goes, Sharon, I'm supposed to give a presentation with Sharon. That kid can't even talk. And the whole class looked and stared at me like they had just noticed me for the first time. Who is that kid? She's so quiet, I never noticed her. And I stuttered and I stammered and I could feel my face getting hot. I could see everybody staring at me. And I'm like, I couldn't think of anything to say. I really did not think anything I had to say would ever be good enough for anyone to hear. I had completely taken in the bully's messages. And he was constantly putting me down, and I took it in. So that was my moment where I went, okay, I love people. I need to get over this shyness and break out of my shell somehow. How do I do this? And that was where I started going on exchanges. And I went to Quebec. And instead of being the weird kid who never talks, I was the mysterious kid who just doesn't speak French. It was like, oh, that's cool. But problème, no? It worked, you know. So I actually learned French. Then I went to Quebec and Costa Rica. I went to Quebec, then Costa Rica and the Canada World Youth Program. Quebec and Costa Rica as part of that. Went to a native village in northern Alberta. Went to all like started traveling and looking for what are the secrets of the world's greatest speakers, and how can I use that to inspire and empower people, and how can I overcome my trauma with whatever they've, you know, whatever secrets I can learn from them. How can I use them? And with those secrets, I actually managed to inspire millions of people. So one day I was walking along the shores of Lake Ontario. I had tears pouring down my face. My cousin had come out to his family. He was the one guy that really helped me because when I was going through that phase in my teenage years of being too shy to speak to anyone. I remember one time he came over, he visited, he was in the States, so I didn't see him very much, but he visited, and I remember him, don't remember what he said, I just remember the look on his face, and he was like, we're having this conversation, and he looked at me and listened really deeply before he responded. And I thought, my God, he's listening to me like I'm a human being. And it was just like, bing, like, bing, maybe I am a human being. And the fact that, you know, and I never forgot that thought. What a weird thought. Of course, I'm a human being, but I didn't feel like one. And he actually ended up coming out to his family and then as not straight and then took his own life. So I was devastated. I was like walking along Lake Ontario. I was picking up rocks and I was whipping them into Lake Ontario, just trying to let go of my pain. I was picking rocks, whipping them into Lake Ontario and going, I need to do something with this pain. I'm going to inspire millions to save lives of bullied LGBT youth. Squeeze all my pain into that rock. And I remember watching the ripple effect as that rock hit the lake and feeling like tingles down my spine, like something just happened. I don't know what just happened. Something just happened. And a few years later, a friend of mine invited me to Facebook. I went, what's this? Weird. Okay, I'll join. And then I went, wait a minute, this is how I could inspire millions of people. I went, okay, I'll do something called Thanks a Million. It's about gratitude, spirituality. Yeah, I'll get 1 million people. And I got 5 people on it. So, but I kept going and I kept playing with it. And I kept having fun. And eventually I started creating groups that got dozens of people. And then I got hundreds of people. And then I created one called Declare UN Human Rights for All Sexual Orientations. And I translated into Spanish, French, English, and German because thanks to the bully, I had learned those languages from my travels. We got 5,000 people. And I was like, cool. Then one day I did like this whole spiritual healing process and woke up the next morning and went, I bet we can find 1 million people who support same-sex marriage. At the end of the day, I was like, what's happening? There's 1,000 people in this group. It's day 1. And then day 2, there were 2,000, then 4,000, then 8,000. Every day it was doubling and doubling. I came home. I was bilingual training manager at Craft Canada at that time. Came home and there were 500,000 more people. And then one day it was like this, click refresh. There's 10,000 more people. Click refresh, 10,000 more people again. And the wall was just scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Yeah, I love these. Yeah, this is a human right. Yeah, marriage is a human right. Yeah, I want my gay grandsons to get married. And I was like, oh. And within 2 weeks, we reached over 2 million people. Somebody said, I want to sign a petition. Where's the petition? I went, yeah, okay, petition. Okay. I threw together a petition. We got 60,000 petition signatures for marriage equality, more than a multi-million-dollar charity for the same cause. So, yeah, 2 million people in just over 2 weeks. Within 5 years, we had won marriage equality across North America. So, if a mute girl can inspire millions of people and empower millions, what can you do? Later, I was also working with a youth business center. I started getting into helping people with marketing because I realized I need to figure this out if I'm going to succeed in my own business, right? So I started, and then once I started figuring it out, I started helping my friends, and their businesses started taking up, and it was like, well, this is cool. So I started offering that as my main thing, and I think I called it what did I call it? Dreams in Motion. Got this called Dreams in Motion. I like that a lot. No, it's not the cock. So I had a lot of issues with that. Then I called it Succeed Inc. And then I eventually got to empowermillions.com. So I wanted to get government funding because I realized a lot of my clients, the people who needed me the most, they didn't have the money to pay. So I thought, well, what if I could get government funding? Long story short, I met with the funder. She said, you are so passionate. You are the one to run this program. And then I went, oh, great. I don't have a space. What am I going to do? I don't even have a space to hold the program. So I saw an ad. I went and I got a little part-time job as a business consultant many years ago. And the funder came in. I ran a presentation. She loved it. And I will never forget when she came in and saw that presentation and went like this. And I'm like, inside, I'm like, yes, we got the money. I know we got the money. This is going to help these kids. It's going to save lives. It's going to help them grow their businesses. They're going to be free. And inside, I was just like, and I just smiled and nodded back. So if a mute girl can inspire millions of people and attract what turned into over $7 million, they got over $400,000 every year. And that was over 16 years, 17, 18 years ago now. So that added up to over $7 million. So if a mute girl can inspire millions and attract millions of dollars, what can you do?
So in the industry of speakers, what are some trends or transformations that you've noticed?
Well, it was the speaker industry is a weird industry, and it's a real shock to people from outside of the industry how much speakers can earn. So because it pays so ridiculously well, and you can Google keynote speakers fees because you probably won't believe me. When somebody told me, you know how much you could earn as a speaker? I was a college professor at the time. I'm like, how do you do this job? I'm hungry, Lion. How do you do this job as a professor? She's like, oh, you should become a speaker. It pays $10,000 an hour. I went, no, it doesn't. Come on. This is not funny. Stop joking with me. I'm hungry. They don't pay us until the end of October. And I need to pay my rent and buy some food. Stop joking with me. She said, I'm serious. I said, you used to make perfect sense. I don't know what you've been smoking, but what do you mean? Who's going to pay $10,000 an hour to a speaker? She's like, Google it. Google keynote speakers fees. So I was like, oh, this is so weird. But I went home and I was hungry. So I Googled keynote speakers fees and went, what? People I've never seen before that are earning like tons, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 an hour. And I'm going, this makes no sense. So I decided I like to eat and I got into the speakers industry. Now, the trends are really starting to expand that because it pays so well. if somebody, and that's in the corporate world, I just want to be clear. So it's not an individual doesn't normally, unless they're a VIP, celebrity or something, an individual doesn't usually pay someone $10,000 to give a talk. It's the company, right? And they're investing. And if you can actually help them get better results, it's a good investment for them. So that's why they pay ridiculous amounts of money. So the big trend I'm seeing in the speaking industry that I'm pushing forward as fast as I can is it's diversifying, because we've got a lot of people in there who are it's mostly straight white male dominated, and it's starting to diversify so that more voices are being heard. And yeah, there's very few vegan people yet who are speaking. But here's the thing. Same thing with the LGBT friendly or any other kind of ethical issue. If you can just kind of bring it in subtly. That's what I do with empowermillions.com. I'll be like, oh, I'm leading a meditation about how you can empower millions. Oh, and you're eating your ideal dream food in your ideal place. Oh, are you eating vegan food? Oh, and you're wearing your ideal dream clothes. Are you wearing vegan clothes? Things like that.
Awesome,
So it's
awesome.
starting to open up, finally starting to open up so they're listening to different people. Yeah.
Yes, so inclusivity and um, diversity, absolutely. Now, in terms of
Yeah.
Speak Inspire and Empower Millions, what is in store for the future? You've done a great job walking us up to kind of where we're at now. What's in store for the future?
Well, I've been researching retreats. So I've got this program that's like a 7 step, like 7 secrets to empower millions. And it's in that program that I've just launched. It gives people 4 secrets to get clients you love. It's LOVE is an acronym. And it's also how to create great relationships. So I want to take that. I would love to inspire 1 billion people with that. And I want to create outstanding kind communities, which are vegan, which are eco-friendly, which are LGBT friendly, which are safe places to live and to run retreats where we can change the freaking world and create a kinder world.
Very great. Well, there's members of people involved in Veg Networking Canada who are in the retreat business and the travel business. So there's lots of synergies with lots of different folks. So that's so great. In terms of next question for you, we always preface by saying there's no right or wrong answers. It might be something that you might answer for what you've done personally, or maybe it's from the company level, maybe something you've done in the past or currently doing or plan to do in the future. All that to say, can you tell us a little bit more about you and your business relating around giving back and charity?
Sure. So I have a program that is called Super Kind You and the Super Peace Monkeys. And this is a labor of love. So it's kind of a social enterprise. And let's see if I can there. So this is one of the books that I've written. I actually and there are 4 monkeys, and they each teach different social emotional skills for children. So they teach kids kindness, and they also teach kids literacy. And so the programs support the Empower Millions supports these programs. So there's 4 monkeys. They all look the same. There's 2 boys. There's 2 girls. This is Listening Lauren. This is Asking Anne. They actually teach the love secrets are embedded in the Super Kind You and the Super Peace Monkeys. Yeah. So Listening Lauren is not about listen to obey. Listening Lauren is listen and show empathy for people's emotions and people's needs. And so it's teaching kids when they're really little how to be kind to themselves and others.
Awesome, awesome. Now, you mentioned this is a great sort of a segue because you just brought up a resource there. Next question for you is centered around resources, primarily asking because Veg Networking Canada is centered around business and entrepreneur. We're kind of asking about any books, podcasts, apps like mobile apps on your phone that might help with, I don't know, anything from budgeting and finance to mental health and leadership. But the question, there are any resources, books, podcasts, or apps or anything like that that you would like other people to potentially take a look at and consider?
Okay, sure. I've got a few. So a lot of what I wear and what I own is fair trade. So this is fair trade. This is fair trade. This is fair trade. So a lot of this comes from 10,000 Villages. This is fair trade. Probably, right? A lot of the things I own are fair trade. So this is something I like to help people make those connections between veganism, fair trade, social justice. I mean, I think everybody here kind of gets it, right? In terms of mental health, I'm going to use this opportunity to just mention this. This is a book that I wrote. It's called Love You, Your Treasure Map to Your Great Purpose. There. That's on Amazon, and it's I think, one of the world's weirdest books, and I'm quite proud of that. If anybody gets it, please read the intro. Do not flip through it. It is not a normal book. You cannot flip through it. There's the middle section is actually designed to be destroyed. The third section is inner child art therapy. So, for example, so you'll see I am not like a professional artist, and you'll see that there's glitter glue all over this book everywhere you look, because if you want to make a difference to your mental health, the key to that, right? So there's affirmations there, and then you get to color them in just the way that a little child would, because that's what makes it more powerful. And because I like inner child art. So you are inspiration, right? So you can see that there are some blank things for people to fill in. You are prosperity. There's one. So yeah, so that's a resource to help with mental health, as well as to live your dreams. My life has completely changed. I've been doing it myself, and my life has completely changed since I started playing around with this book.
So speaking of dreams and getting clear on them and searching for them and landing them, reaching them, moving on to the next, those types of things, generally is kind of derived from inspiration. So that's our next question for you, is centered around inspiration, which might mean something different to you than it does for others. You might interpret it as internal or external. What does inspiration mean to you? How do you find it? What would you be kind of mentioning to people?
I gotta say, I think a lot about Costa Rica. That has been a huge inspiration in my life. After we went to the Quebec part, where we went to, oh, I almost said the name of the company, the company that shall not be named. We went to Costa Rica, and it was so incredibly beautiful, and the people were so incredibly beautiful. And I'm talking beautiful souls. And yeah, like they could have called it rich. Costa Rica means rich coast, but it also makes me think of rich people who are very rich inside. They're very rich in love. They are very well connected to each other. On the west coast of Costa Rica, there's a blue zone where people are living past 100, and they're like trying to figure it out. They're doing all this research. Is it the diet? Is it the exercise? Is it because they're breathing the good air? And I'm like, that's all part of it. I think the reason, because I stayed there for 3.5 months, and I think they actually connect with each other. They touch each other. It's part of the culture there. They look in each other's eyes, and it's a beautiful, beautiful culture. So that's one of my big inspirations, and that's where I want to make the next outstanding kind communities in Costa Rica. I may do a retreat there in the next few weeks, actually.
Well, a lot of folks listening are probably thinking, hey, I see some white stuff out here. Again, we're in Canada, folks. So
Uh-huh.
I see some white stuff outside, and I'd like to get my butt down to Costa Rica. So that's great. So yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds
I'll
like
probably
sort
be
of
doing a whole series of retreats. So yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, it sounds like connection and longevity are sources of inspiration for you, which leads us
Yeah.
into the very last question that we have for you, Sharon, today, which is centered around wisdom, tips, lessons. Some people don't like the word advice, but that's a common sort of what we're looking for, right? Anything that you think would help other folks. And you've already mentioned a few things. I'll start by saying before you dive in, which I think we heard you say: find people who care by caring yourself. I think that's kind of in your theme. You could care yourself and find people who care. And then you also mentioned like being able to play and have fun, and how important and empowering that actually is in whatever you're doing. So with that being said, what are some wisdom, tips, lessons, advice, or anything like that as our last question for you today?
Sure. I think the most important thing that really helped me, and I think it informed that whole 2 million member movement, is when you create a great vision that benefits you, other people, and the planet. I mean, look, that's why I love being here because everybody has a great vision that fits with that, right? And and if you can make it so crystal clear that the moment your ideal client sees it or hears it, they go, yes, that's what makes you incredibly powerful. I mean, I had my great vision across the banner of Facebook years ago. I bet we can find 1 million people who support same-sex marriage. It was fun, it was exciting, it was crystal clear because of the number in it. So now my great vision, for example, is to create a kinder world. And how I want to do that is I want to co-create over 1 million millionaires. Take 1 million kind people and turn them into millionaires and billionaire philanthropists who are vegan, preferably, hopefully. And so that everyone has the resources to be inspiring and empowering millions. It's one thing I did not realize when the first time that I empowered millions, I didn't realize that it was going to cost money to do that and time and energy. It was thousands of hours worth of work to do that. So you need, in order to empower millions, you really need to also attract millions of dollars. So I want to have a whole team of people with similar values where we're all about creating kinder worlds, and we go there together, and everyone attracts millions of dollars so that they can empower millions and create a kinder vegan world.
Yeah, no need to whisper with this group and those who are
With this
listening.
group,
I think
I'm thinking.
I'll, I think
So, and that's kind of the way I do it, right? So I talk about creating a kinder world, and by the way, a kinder world is vegan, right? So I'm thinking also about the people who might watch this in the future, and they may or may not be vegan yet, right? They might not be ready for that idea. For me, a kinder world is definitely a vegan world. There's no question. And I just kind of slide that in gently into the program, but I'm not in your face like, I'm going to tell you about, I'm not one of those like, I don't believe in traumatizing people to get them to change. I believe in empowering people to get them to change and inspiring people and making it fun. Like, what if we all said, hey, let's do a go vegan for a day challenge or something, or go vegan for one meal challenge and just make it really fun. And let's get 1 billion people to try a vegan meal once.
yeah, I think a lot of folks here and a lot of folks listening are of the mindset that as long as our brothers and sisters are being protected and are okay, whatever reason you come to that for, go for it.
Yeah.
So very, very good final thoughts there, though. If we want to summarize what you said, I think we all heard crystal clear vision. And crystal clear vision is not the same thing as thinking in your head, you know what you want, but being very crystal clear about that. So thank you so much
You add
for
a
sharing.
number to it that makes it crystal clear. And just an example of how you can have fun and make a living by making a difference. In empowermillions.com, there's a free treasure hunt that I just added in today because I thought, oh, how can I make this more fun? And I produce music videos and I made that part of the whole program too. So just think of ways to make your business even more fun. Add like free gifts and treasure hunt, free secrets and things into your invitation program, into your invitation pages online. See what ways you can inspire millions and empower millions.
Make it fun, make it fun. And the last note there is very interesting how you personally aren't I guess into shock and awe or trauma to change people when that's in fact exactly what happened unbeknownst to you when those doors opened up. So very interesting. So Sharon,
Yeah.
a very, very, very
I
interesting
would have liked
conversation.
a gentler way. Like, I think if somebody had come to me and said, did you ever think about going vegan? And do you know it's fun? And why don't you try a meal? And you know what? You're saving animals' lives. That would have probably worked for me. I didn't need to be traumatized.
Absolutely, absolutely, for sure, for sure. So with all of that being said, Sharon, is there any further announcements for your business or anything that came up in our conversation that you want to say before we let people know where they can find you online? It's been mentioned multiple times, but we'll say it again, and then we'll sort of, uh, you know, um, carry on. So is there anything that you want to mention or any announcements?
Sure. Feel free to look me up. I would love to connect with everybody here on LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Sharon Love is my full name. Sharon Love M. Ed. If you're looking me up on LinkedIn, so that it narrows things down, it's easier to find me. And yeah, empowermillions.com. I do have free online events every once in a while. So for people who become part of the project, there will be, I need to add another page in there just as I'm as I'm talking, like I need to add that in, so there will be a sign up if people want to sign up for free events as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So everybody, you've heard it. You can find out more online, www.speakinspire.com and www.empowermillions.com. This has been another episode of Veg Networking Canada. A great conversation with the CEO of Speak Inspire, Sharon Love. Thank you so much for your time, and everybody listening. We will catch you for another episode shortly. Same place, same time. Veg Networking Canada. Bye for now. Take care.